The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long.
Good evening and welcome to the Haunt Hour with your host Dan Doble, Susie Fleesick, and Troy Crivello. Join us tonight as we talk about all things haunting and Halloween during the Haunt Hour.
Welcome, everybody, to another Haunt Hour. I am the host here, one of the three hosts, Dan, the Haunt Guy Doble. We're here with Dammit Troy Malone and Christy.
I don't have a name. I don't have a nickname. I need a nickname.
We're gonna have to figure out a nickname.
Definitely. I'm taking suggestions for anybody watching.
Anybody watching this?
A nickname. I need a nickname.
Anybody that knows her well. Maybe we can ask her husband.
No.
Maybe ask her husband.
No.
Ask Troy. Troy.
Yeah. No, ask Troy.
Troy.
Different Troy.
Different Troy. Not that Troy. No, the other Troy. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking all the details of the haunt, the gritty, right, Susie? Is that what what we're going after tonight?
Yeah, we're going to talk tonight with Cynthia MacDonald from Zombie Farms in Athens, Georgia. And she is going to talk about marketing in a pro hunt. And I think it's going to be really interesting to hear what she has to say because we all know that last year was a tough year for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't open. And then we all know now that the cost of lumber and supplies is just through the roof. So I think it's going to be interesting to talk to her about, the money side of it and how to budget and market your haunt. So that'll be fun.
That will definitely be fun. But before we get into that, we always go through the current events and the topics at hand for this week. We didn't have much last week. I wanted to touch on something just because it's coming up and it's in my hometown, and that's the Midwest Haunters Convention. That will be coming up June 25th to the 27th of this year.
Yeah.
I believe that's right.
Thursday through Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's 4 days, but it's in Milwaukee, in the Milwaukee area. It's being held at the Wisconsin Center, and the COVID restrictions, mask restrictions in Milwaukee were lifted.
Nice.
So we're back to full capacity.
Great.
Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I don't think that's going to be an issue unless something happens within the next 3 weeks. So it's going to be a good thing. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens down there at the Midwest Haunters Convention because, everybody's on eggshells, trying to figure out what they want to do and how they want to go about doing all this stuff. So that's what I got for news. Midwest Haunters Convention. Go check it out. It's coming.
I've never been. I've never done Midwest Haunters Convention. What's like? What do people expect from that? Like, what is that all about?
So much fun. It's the doers show. It's the show where the actors get put to the front and center.
Mhm.
Actors, home haunters. Yeah.
It's a place where they can network. They can work on their costumes. It's accessorizing. There's a wicked awesome ball. Haunted ball, I guess. I don't even know what they call it. Costume masquerade party, whatever.
Yeah, it's a masquerade ball. Yeah,
it's like ridiculous. All iconic characters. Like everybody spends hours on their costume to go to this show. I mean, it's and there's stuff there that you would believe that you saw. Like one year, I saw a fetal baby coming out of a woman. I mean, it was just repulsive, but amazingly well done. So, I mean, that's just the one.
The haunt tours are probably I would say the haunt tours for Midwest are usually the best of any convention out there. I haven't been to Texas yet. I'll be going to Texas in July, so I can better gauge that. The Midwest ones it's all day Friday. This year, usually it's either Wednesday and Thursday, and then they have a haunt tour on Friday night. But with all the different stuff going on this year, they had to scale it down so that it's just Friday during the day. They're going to 4 local amazing haunts out there, including Abandoned House, Abandoned Haunted House. That's supposed to be
it's a haunted house complex. It's awesome.
It's
awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's off the hook. That place is great. Yeah. All 3. Is it 4? There's 3 or 4. I know there's more than 3.
I think there's 4. Yeah.
All of them are awesome. I've been to all of them. They're great. They're great shows. So
Terror on the Fox is in there.
Oh,
the most detailed haunted attractions I've ever been to.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a performance. You go there, they're performers. They are not haunters. They're performers. And it's
sweet. Yeah.
Something else about Terror and the Fox you guys probably don't know. It's all made out of train cars.
I did know that. And you know how I know that. You know how I know that.
Oh, yes.
Micah.
Micah
told me that. I did know that. I probably know a lot about that place from Micah. So, yeah.
It's great.
Well, and one tip that I've got from a couple of vendors so far that are going, namely Rip City Effects gave me this little tip. Flights into Milwaukee are not cheap, especially from the West Coast, because it is not a direct flight, and nor is much coming out of Milwaukee. So a way to get around that cost, I can tell you that from Portland to Milwaukee, it is almost $600. But Portland to Chicago is more like $200 to $300. So you could rent a car in Chicago and drive the hour and a half to Milwaukee and save a boatload of money and have a car while you're in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right.
So the train too. The train's like $20 or $25, and you can take the train from Chicago O'Hare Airport right into the center of Milwaukee and literally walk to the convention center. So that's another option for other people that are out there. Trust me, I've done it 100 times.
Yep.
The traffic.
Probably the only thing that I've got so far. I meant to talk about it last week, but we got excited with our guest. But I had a conversation with a bunch of Canadian haunters, our amazing friends in the north there, and their ability to travel down to the U.S. is still extremely hindered to the point where it may not be even until after September. As of right now, they are still only allowed to do either in-province travel or not even that. So their restrictions say up till September that they can only do recreational Canadian travel. But on the bright side, a bunch of the haunters did say that they are planning on doing their displays or their walkthroughs. Some are going to wait and see. So there were a lot of Canadian haunters that did not do their walkthroughs, and we have some amazing walkthrough haunts up there. I've been to several of them in Vancouver, British Columbia specifically, and it's looking like some of those may be coming back, and plenty of the display haunters will be back. So, luckily that seems to be a slow return to normal for the Canadians, and I hope it turns around quickly for them, and maybe they can get down here for other things, but probably for the conventions this year, it'll be a Canadian-less show, which is sad. I want my Canadians.
It is sad. I don't mean that. Your terminology,
Canadian-less. That's a sad thing. I want my Canadians. So, but that doesn't mean, and it's tough for them to buy products down here from vendors because the shipping rates back up to Canada is pretty tough. So a lot of them come down here and they'll drive to Midwest, they'll drive to Transworld, and then they will drive back up because they know they're going to buy a bunch of stuff and avoid the shipping costs. So, maybe if you're a vendor and you want to get some Canadian orders, maybe, 5% discount or something like that, So, but yeah, so here's hoping, Canada gets back and,
Yeah. It'll happen.
It will.
In due time. Susie,
they're a resilient bunch.
Yeah. You have any news, Susie? How's the haunt coming?
That's my only news. I was going to say personal news. We got a lot of shit done this weekend. Like I said earlier, it's been kind of cool in PA, so it's not your typical Memorial Day weekend weather. And we did the cookouts, but we didn't do like the swimming and stuff, and it kind of forced us to be inside, and I'm not mad about it. So us PA haunters got probably a lot of stuff done this weekend, and myself included. I got my handbook rewritten. I got my actor room switched over to the other side of the haunt, and just a bunch of indoor stuff. But yeah, that's all I have.
How did those pumpkin teeth come out?
Really good. Yeah, those came out good. Yeah. They're
give us a little context on that because everybody's like pumpkin teeth.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? So my daughter and I at Transworld, we got a lot of ideas for our first floor. We're a 3-story haunt, and our first floor we're gonna do like a daycare. I'm not sure what we're gonna call it yet. We always like to theme it like with a name. So the first floor is gonna be a haunted daycare, and we have an old school, so it just fits in perfectly because the second floor is like a grade school type, like high school type thing. And so the first floor is going to be daycare, and we wanted to take like stuffed animals and just basically zombie them out, make them all crazy looking, put like teeth on them and stuff like that, and like eyeballs. And my daughter just is loving the art side to that. So we made a bunch of teeth the other day and just been like hot gluing them to all these stuffed animals, which if anybody needs any ideas for anything to decorate their haunt with that's not wood, everybody's always getting rid of stuffed animals. So just like change your theme, make walls out of stuffed animals, and you're set, because they're always free everywhere you go. Nobody wants these damn things. So
yeah, go grab some pallets and make some walls and
literally
nail them up.
Glue them. Like, I'm serious. Like everybody loves. We're not doing that. I'm just saying. But we are gonna have like a daycare. So they're gonna be on the shelves and walls and stuff like that. But yeah, so they turned out good. We're getting into it. I feel like I'm kind of definitely ahead of where I was last year, because last year at this time we were still like, what are we doing? Are we even opening? So I keep gauging it from last year, and we did a complete redo of our basement last year. Not really at the last minute, but it was pretty last minute for us. So for us to be where we are right now, I feel like we're just like so far ahead of the game. So
sweet. Well, let's continue that and get ahead of the game in marketing.
Absolutely.
Like that segue? That was pretty good.
I love that.
Let's bring in Cynthia. I'm going to turn it over to Susie. Susie, take it away.
I got this. Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Okay, so you are, along with your husband, the owner of Zombie Farms in Athens, Georgia. How many years you guys been open?
This is our 9th year.
Okay.
Mhm.
And were you guys open last year?
We did, and we had a phenomenal year, just like a lot of haunts that were able to open. It was a really good year. We're an outdoor haunt, and we're in Georgia, which had fewer restrictions anyway. But being outdoors, it made it really easy to open, even with all the protocols in place. And it was a great year. I mean, wonderful year.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. So, I invited you on this show because I know you through like our women haunting groups, and I just feel like you are a wealth of information when it comes to, I know I go to you a lot whenever I have questions about like numbers and marketing. And so I wanted you to come on and talk to us about smart marketing in the pro haunt industry. And I feel like this year, especially, it's very important for us to be smart about our money, because there's so many haunts that didn't get to open last year. And I think there is still a number of haunts that didn't do as well as like you and I did, say, last season. So, do you think that, this year it's going to be a different take on marketing than any other year because we're where we are? I hate to say post-pandemic because I feel like sometimes people get like, upset because it's like, it's not over yet. So whatever, wherever we are mid-pandemic. So what are your thoughts on marketing the haunt this year? And do you think that we should put more money towards our haunts, or how do you feel about that?
Well, first off, I am not a marketing expert by any stretch of the imagination. So I can tell you what has worked for us and what we plan to do. And then you can take that for what it's worth with your own haunts. But, last year, we put just as much into marketing as ever. And did we have to? I don't know, but we were afraid not to and then see numbers drop off. So we continued our marketing last year as if there was no pandemic. We were just trying to reach our customers and make sure they knew we were open and that we were opening safely. And so even if they knew we were open, we wanted to make sure they knew we were opening safely. This year, we plan to continue marketing just like we have in years past. Our numbers will probably, our marketing numbers will probably be the same in terms of what we spend. I think it's going to be harder to get the people to our haunt this year than it was last year because there's going to be competition for those entertainment dollars again. Now, there's an argument to be had that there's a lot of people that didn't do anything last October that are going to be jumping on the bandwagon this October. But I think those people are the same people who 2 years ago may not have come to the haunt. They might have gone to football games or movies or fall festivals or all the other things you can do in October and spend your money. So for us personally, we're going to continue to market and spend our marketing dollars the same way we would have last year and the year before. We're not decreasing, we're not increasing. We're keeping it to that number that has been sweet for us. And just, trying to make sure we still reach those customers and let them know that, we're still open for business.
Yeah, I agree. And I definitely agree with like what you said about people are going to be, there's a lot of other things you can do this year. Whereas I know for us, there were actual several other haunts that were closed around us. So, we were one of the only ones open. And I think that is going to change this year. It's definitely going to change. So that's definitely something to consider. Now, what about like a new haunt? So like this is a new haunt's very first year. They don't know anything about pandemic life in a haunt. Do you have any advice for them as far as what they would do to try to break into the haunt scene?
That is
this
such
year?
a loaded question.
It's huge. Take it away.
I think, obviously, so much of it matters based on geography, competition, whether you're indoor, whether you're outdoor. There's so many factors that go into it. For us personally, I can just tell you what worked for us. We're an outdoor haunt. Our first year, we had no idea what to expect. from my experience, whatever you're budgeting, you need to double that right now. And I'm not even talking about lumber prices, because you need to triple it because of lumber prices. But we had no idea how much we were going to spend on building stuff. We had no idea what we were going to spend on staff costs and marketing and all the things that go into a haunt. And every bit of it, we thought we over budgeted, and every bit of it we under budgeted. I would tell most haunts probably not to expect a profit for 4, maybe 5 years. So you have to go into it knowing that. And if you go into it knowing that, then you don't get as nervous when you see numbers in the red those first couple of years, which means you have to have saved money, or you have to be prepared to lose that money, whatever it is. My other piece of advice would probably be, no matter what you do your best to pay your actors, even that first year, if you go in the hole, because if you can pay those actors and get them loyal to you the first year, it's going to be easier to pull them back year after year. You're going to get a good reputation. I've got actors that have been with me all 9 years. I've got actors that have come and gone over the 9 years, depending on what they were doing. But they knew they were getting paid from year one, even when we lost our shirts. The first couple of years, we made sure our actors got paid. And to me, that was a big part of our haunt. Now, I know lots of haunts get away with volunteer actors, and it works well for them. It might depend on your area. But I have found that it's easier to tell people what I need them to do if I'm paying them to do it.
It's way easier to manage. It's way easier to manage people you're paying versus people that you're hoping to come back and volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, they feel like they're doing you a favor, and so getting them to do a particular thing or change the way they're doing something is really, really hard if they're just volunteering. So, but yeah, I think budgeting is so important, and I'm a numbers girl. I've always been a numbers person. So when my husband and I let me rephrase that. When my husband decided to open the haunt and dragged me kicking and screaming with him, it started with a budget and a sheet of paper and how much we expected to spend, and how we knew we weren't going to make money 4 or 5 years. And so when we did lose money year 1 and year 2 and start to break even year 3, I didn't have as big of a heart attack as I would have, because I expected it, and it was budgeted into our personal finances and our family finances and all of that. So being a numbers person, it helps me to every year look at the budget, know what we spent last year, know where we can improve next year, and see did our marketing dollars do what we wanted them to do. We had one year where we actually doubled our marketing and didn't see a very big increase, and so we dropped our marketing back a little bit and continued to see our numbers keep going. So the hard thing about running a haunt is that you only get this 1 month out of the year to play with those kind of things. And so when you do something different this year, you may not get the return on that knowledge until next year. You may learn a really great lesson about how to run your haunt this year, and it does you no good this year because you can't put that into practice until next year.
A whole year to do it.
Yes, and it stinks. It's awful.
That's a great point. That is a great point.
And you can't even use it for like Christmas or any other, off season, events, because those have all different analytics to them.
That's completely different.
So, yeah, that's tough.
So yeah, I would just say for new hunters, you have to be willing to do the business side of it and not just the fun side of it. If you're not a business person, you need somebody in your circle who is, because you have to have that person who's going to look at the numbers, who's going to focus on the numbers, who finds the numbers exciting and interesting. Because if nobody else finds them exciting and interesting, it's going to limp along for a few years until you realize, you're all pouring money into it, not getting anything out of it. And eventually you can't sustain that long term. So
not at all. Not at all.
Are you that person at your haunt, Cynthia, that loves numbers?
Oh yeah.
My wife, when I owned a haunted house, my wife was that person, and she's kicking and screaming the whole time. In fact, I think she made numbers larger so that I would be more afraid, because she did not want this haunted house thing to go.
Now I love other parts of it too, but the numbers are what excite me. I mean, I'm in the ticket booth checking the sales every night, and if we hit a certain number, I will call Patrick, my husband. I'll be like, "Oh, we did it tonight! It's great!" Because I know it'll give him a boost back there, acting, and sometimes I get in on the acting, but not very often. For me, it's more about being up front and rubbing elbows with the customers and hearing what they have to say and looking at the numbers.
So I have a question, if you don't mind, Susie. If we jump into the marketing side of it, if you're a first-time haunter or haunt owner and you're looking at your allotted marketing dollars that you have set aside, where do you put the majority or all of it when you're looking at it? Is it social media? Is it billboards? Is it, I mean, and I know it's variable, but what worked for you? I mean, what was the best bang for your buck when you were looking at marketing?
So over the years, we've tried every aspect of marketing, and I really think this answer is very geographic based, because I have heard haunters say other things work in their area that would not work in a million years in my area.
I agree.
Billboards did not do a thing for us, and we spent some big dollars for a couple of years just trying to make sure that we were giving it an honest go. Billboards did nothing for us. Flyers and radio ads did nothing for us. Social media has been definitely our ticket here in this area. We pour 95% of our marketing dollars into social media. Besides that, we don't do a lot of other things. I'm just very, very active on social media with my haunt. I'm very responsive to customers. So if they comment or ask questions, I never leave them hanging. So it's not just about the dollars you put in, it's about how much interest you show too, I think. So, we get lots of messages and we get lots of comments, and I like to play with the customers on Facebook or on Instagram. If they make a silly comment, I'll make one back, or I'll challenge them, or, and they love that. They absolutely love it. So, for us, social media, that's been the biggest bang for the buck. And I think most people will say that, but I do think there are areas of the country where other types of marketing work that don't really work here for us.
I think that's one thing that it's beginning to evolve, and I see several haunts and several even vendors will do what you said about the playing back and forth with the customers, especially if they'll post something like, "Oh, well, I saw this somewhere else," and then they get in kind of a little sparring match, but it's all in good fun. Is that I think that haunts in general need to probably have a social media person that maybe doesn't necessarily put the media up, and is not involved with actually creating the marketing part of it, but there to respond. I know that when I went to Chicago in October, I mistakenly picked the wrong date for a haunt, and since it was all time ticketing, I was like, I'm not going to even be there. I'll be on a plane at that time. I will not be there to be there. Can we switch this over? And this was like at 11 o'clock at night, fully expecting them to get back to me the next day. Within 10 minutes, my ticket was changed. And everything was golden. Me and the person had a conversation for a few minutes, and then I met her at the haunt the next night. And that was the night before the haunt. So, before I arrived. So, it's hard to be there 24/7 on a Facebook page or on a message thing, but to have somebody that within like an hour of getting a response, because there are people that will type something and then they'll wait. They'll sit there and wait, and after a while they'll move along, and if all of us know that our little notifications on Facebook, they run, and you have to scroll through those things. Sometimes they're not even in order, and it's quite a while before you see them, especially for a business. You get lots of question stuff, probably the same questions over and over again, of course, too. But I think social media is definitely a place where haunts are really going to need to put their money, like you said, and time.
Yeah, so far I have not done a good job at getting somebody else to handle the social media. So
you're having fun with it, so
I carry my phone with me and every notification, but I do agree. I think we're really close in our haunt to probably needing a backup, somebody who can assist me in doing that. But I enjoy it, so as of right now, it hasn't become too much, but in the future, I mean, I think you're right. I think even I will need somebody who will step in and do that
Yeah.
I just have to develop that trust.
Right. Yeah, there is that,
That's
because then you're not going to hear it as much. You're not going to
Yeah.
hear the stuff as much. And
I
that's
won't have my pulse on what they're thinking
Right.
and feeling and all that as much. And I think I would miss that, but
Yeah, I hear you.
That would probably be the toughest job to like hire for, I feel.
Oh,
You know, like, because you'd have to make sure you had somebody that had the same like sense of humor as you and the same like, I don't know, like that's tough. That's tough.
they
'cause
have
I
to
do-
know how your operation works, because I mean, to even answer technical questions about, when you open and all that kind of stuff, it's not always as simple as just, oh, well, we open at 8. I mean, a lot of times I tell people, well, yeah, we open at 8, but if you get here at 7:30, a lot of times we're running that first group through, so
Yeah.
scary.
I have a funny story that goes along with, I was approved as a social media person. This was 8 years ago, probably. It was when zombie mud runs were a big thing.
So
And,
MySpace.
it was Facebook. It was Facebook. We had a Facebook page, and it was a zombie mud run, and it was over. Like the whole event was over, and the people that I worked for they weren't very responsive. So I responded to a couple of things, and nobody said anything, and I didn't think anything of it because I'm not one of those people that likes to be vindictive. But I posted on there, what was your favorite part and what was your worst part of the event? And nobody really responded in favor. They all responded negatively.
Oh, nice.
And it like blew up. Like there was hundreds of comments about how bad it was.
And you started it.
Phone call after phone call from my boss yelling at me, telling me, what the heck are you doing? And they took it down, and then I was booted off of there. And that was the last time I did their social media for them. Well, trust is a huge thing, but trust is a huge thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't ever ask what is the worst part. Only ask what was the best part.
Well, but it's being transparent and it's being personable.
Yeah.
So I will always ask what the worst part is, because how am I supposed to know what to get better?
Maybe
if it was my event, I would totally ask.
Maybe be like, what could we improve on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's better language.
That's what we do for our haunted house tours here in the Northwest. Is we make sure that after everything's done, we send out a survey and we say, what are 3 things that you liked and 3 things that you would improve on. Just like you said, you don't use negative terms. You say, what can we improve on? What can we do better? What can we help to make it awesome for you? And a lot of times you'll get 3 good ones and like 1 improvement. Which is good. If you get 3 improvements and then comments below on more improvements, you have some definite improvements to make. But to frame it in a positive way, asking for what they thought was bad is definitely something that I think can help out a lot. And I think like all the conventions do it. Several of them will do that too. Vendors will send out surveys after you've gotten the product and stuff.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
In my experience, customers are not shy about telling you where you can improve. I don't know that you even have to ask that question. I think they'll let you know.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
Right there on the spot as they're exiting. You know what you need here?
Yeah.
You know what would be really scary? Yeah, no, never thought of what would be scary. I have no freaking clue. What? Why don't you tell me? I love that. Okay, so let's talk. Shift over from marketing to like budgeting. Do you have any certain kind of like formula you use for like your budget, not just your marketing budget, but like, do you have something that you use? I know you were saying, and I've discussed this with you before, about like, you just said you called your husband when you hit a certain number and you know what your number is every night. Do you have a formula? Like, I'm not that person. When I heard that you did that, I was like, what? That's genius. I don't do that. I'm not the numbers girl.
So one thing we noticed in the first few years of running our haunt is that our budget was almost split into thirds. And this wasn't by design. It was kind of by default what happened. But we tend to spend a third of our budget on operations, which can be anything from build to props to even just, insurance and things like that. Operations in general is a third. Our staff is a third. Our staff cost is a third. And our marketing is usually a third. Now, the last 2 years, we have made a little bit of a shift and spent more on build. And last year specifically, because it was hard to hire people, our staff costs were down by design. So last year wasn't quite the perfect picture of a third, a third, a third. But to me, that's a pretty easy pie chart to look at. And we've just seen that happen year after year for us. Sometimes it shifts. It's not perfect, third, but it's been pretty close for us that we spend about a third on each of those pieces. In terms of at night, each night, I know what it costs to pay my staff per night. And I know how many nights I have to work to have enough money to pay my entire staff for the entire season. So, and then I also know what it's going to cost to pay the staff and pay off the props. So once I have those numbers, like I know when I hit them, and those always make me feel good because I can say, okay, from here out, it's pure profit, or from here out, at least I know my staff is paid, and those numbers make me feel good. I know how many people I need to hit a night to break even. So once we get past those numbers, it feels good. So just having those milestones in your head, even if you're not like me and you know them exactly, if you know them in general, I think they make you a better haunt owner because you know if you're doing well or not, even the first or second night. And I'm not saying that the first night has to be a phenomenal night, but you need to know, did I break even tonight, or am I on track to breaking even? Do I need to know what those numbers are? So I think just having a general idea of those things. And if you don't know what they are going forward, if you've been running a haunt for a few years, I think it's worth the time to go back and look at your budget the last 3 or 4 years and say, okay, here's how much I spent. Now let me divide it into what I spent it on if I don't know already. And you'll start to see a picture of your own haunt and then decide, do you like your layout? Should I be spending less on props and more on marketing, or should I be paying my staff less or more? Should I be hiring more or less staff than I have now? So, you can't make those decisions if you don't know what you're spending your money on.
So I think just to piggyback off what Susie said, is there a formula? Is there how do you break that down? Do you just put a spreadsheet out and put 3 columns and then run your numbers? I mean, is that something it's simple? I'm
pretty much.
Wait. A little backstory. Dan had 13 people at his haunt the first.
Yes, I did. My first night that I owned my haunt, 13 people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our first night we only had 90, and I wanted to cry in my water bottle. I mean, it was.
I think we all have that.
God, that first night was so scary. I was like, what have we done? I mean,
same. We had like 65 or something. Yeah, same.
So but I mean, literally, I do just put it in a spreadsheet. I mean, literally, we take all of our expenses during the year. We buy a lot of stuff off of Amazon, and so it's easy to data dump that information. All of our other stuff, we just add to it, and we break it down as to whether this expense was operations, which most of it is, and then the marketing is stuff I spend on social media or other marketing avenues. And then our staff costs, I know what I'm going to spend based on the people I'm hiring and what I'm paying them. So I know that number going into the season, even though I may adjust it, or some people may drop out, or I may add bonuses. I still know in general what my staff cost is going to be before the season even starts. So it's really easy for me to then know those numbers going into the season and say, okay, well, how much do I need to make each night? How much do I need to make just to pay my staff? All those other numbers. So I literally do just put it in spreadsheets. That's all. It's not complicated.
It's not complicated to her.
How often do you visit those? You visit those numbers and not manipulate, but look at the boxes and move them back and forth. Do you set on one at the beginning and find that that's where you stay to, and then when you get to it, you're like, I'm done, or is there a moving bar that goes back and forth throughout the year?
I mean, marketing and staff are pretty set. We know pretty solidly what we're going to spend on those, but man, that operations and prop budget Patrick's in charge of, and I have no control over that. I'll be like, you have spent how much?
Yeah.
He is the creative guy, and so and we've got a great haunt and we get great feedback. So I try to give him a really long leash with that budget. But literally, I mean, it can vary depending on what his projects for the year are. And, you know, last year we did spend a bigger chunk than I expected, but we spent less on the staff. So I usually find it evens out, but it's always shifting. And we look at it maybe, I don't know, every other month or every 3 months or something like that. It's not like we're looking at it all the time until October gets here. And then literally I'm looking at it, you know, every weekend.
Yeah. I thought
And
you were
I'm
gonna say every
comparing
day.
those numbers to last year and the year before, and, you know, trying to look at the numbers of the customers and how they varied based on previous years. And, you know, why did we get more this weekend than we did last year this weekend? Or why did we get less? Or, you know, it's so hard to figure those things out.
You must keep some amazing, like book work. I'm amazed. I'm completely amazed at the, because like I don't have that. I guess I get it. I better get better at that. I mean, I hope anybody that's watching this that is a pro haunt owner is getting advice from you and gonna literally get off of this and change the way they do shit. I know I will, because I feel like I'm like, oh crap, I have some work to do. But I think that one of my big issues was, and Cynthia, you know this, our pay scale was a little bit different. It was very unconventional for the past so many years. And this year we're going to be a little more conventional with our pay. We're going to do a nightly rate. Whereas before we did like a per ticket rate, which I don't think I ever told you guys that, but we would pay our actors based on the tickets we sold. They got so many cents per ticket we sold. And it was interesting, but they didn't understand how it worked. So it's just going to be a lot easier this year. So I think that's going to help me to like take your little formula where you have like, you know how much money you need to make every night in order to like break even. And then when you hit that number, you can break out the flabongo and get shit faced. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going to break out the flabongo. But going back to social media, when you said you use a lot of social media, do you only use Facebook, or do you use Facebook, Instagram? Like I know a lot of people are starting to use TikTok, and I feel too old to make TikTok content. Have you gone down that avenue yet?
I have not done TikTok. I've focused primarily, honestly, probably 75% on Facebook and 25% on Instagram. I can tell you my reasoning behind it. My reasoning behind it is that the majority of the people deciding, especially in families or in relationships, on who spends the entertainment dollar is usually the woman. It's the mom, it's the girlfriend, it's the wife, it's the social organizer in the club, and those are almost always women, and those are who on Facebook. So I reach those people through Facebook, and I'm not always saying, do you want to come? Sometimes I'm saying, you know, do you want to bring your teenage Sweet 16 birthday party here? Do you want to bring your girls group here? Do you want to bring, you know, so I'm getting them to think of who they want to bring, even if that person isn't them. Because a lot of, you know, women don't necessarily want to come to the haunt just by themselves, or they don't think they do until they get here. But they know people, and they're trying to organize fun things. And so that's why for me, Facebook has been so helpful, is that I'm reaching to people that tend to make those entertainment decisions. Whereas on Instagram, I'm reaching the teenagers and young adults who are interested in doing it and might have their own disposable income to spend on it. I have not ventured into TikTok. I feel like I need to look more into that this year, but I also wonder, are those people, do they have their own money and can they make their own decisions, or is that a younger crowd that may not? I'm not sure. And again, that's my own ignorance. I'm not saying one way or another. I need to learn that information, but Facebook and Instagram have been my go-to the last couple of years, and they've been great, but I might need to expand that a little bit this year.
I think with TikTok, where and I don't do TikTok either, and I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know what it seems to be everybody, but it does definitely seem to be like the under 35 crowd for sure. Mm-hmm. But I think that one thing, and I was just spitballing as you were talking about, like having your actors when you're training and when you're having people in makeup and stuff like that, to have them do, because they're only, 10, 15, 20 seconds, and you have an actor come out of a room and he's running at you, and then it just says, come see our haunt. you know, and then it's just a link, and it's just a quick little, you know, as they're thumbing through, they're going to see the scary guy, and they're going to stop, and they're going to look at that video, and it's only 10, 15 seconds, which is about the attention span of anybody under the age of 35 nowadays anyways.
Me
That
too.
they're well, yeah, some of us ADD people too, hi. You know, that they will see, you know, the name of the haunt, it'll come up real fast or whatever, and you'll see this, you know, creepy actor, this creepy scene or something like that, you know, whereas Instagram, you know, you know, is more just your quick, you know, your videos or your pictures, and then Facebook is where you get information. I feel like, you know, Facebook's where you can get a ton of text information out that people actually spend time to read. When you're on Instagram or TikTok, you're looking for flashy, instantaneous gratification. You don't want to read anything. That's why, I mean, Instagram has very little text at all, because it's, you know, you're supposed to just look at it and it's all visual. You know, so having the TikTok with like an actor would probably make me watch it real fast, you know, versus just a picture of the haunt or something.
It requires somebody to do it, and then
True.
somebody to trust as well.
Yep. There's that T word again.
Yep.
Although roping your actors into the TikTok, you know, bandwagon may not be maybe a really good idea. It's something we could just say, hey, you know, use TikTok and have some fun with it, and bring them to zombie farms, and maybe it would work. I don't know. Yeah. Have them put it on their own TikTok. I mean, it's all about getting TikTok, am I right, is about getting the attention on you, right? So if they want the attention, let them get it in costume and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
It's so funny to talk to my oldest daughter is 18. She'll be 19 in a few months. And she has a Facebook account, but never goes on. And she said, that's for old people.
It's for old people. I was just going to say. Totally.
Kids don't go on Facebook.
No, they don't.
I used to like your daughter.
I agree. I have an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old daughter and son, and they will not get on Facebook, but they are on Instagram, although they like to be the I don't post, but they follow people, you know, so they get information. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I use them for a lot of information on how to reach their age group.
So I have a question for you, Cynthia. Do you do any, what is it? There's paid posts and then there's organic posts. Do you do organic posting, or do you you set like a corporate type post and send it out to your social medias, or do you make it more personable? What does that look like for you?
In all honesty, I usually post, I just post on Facebook all the time. And if I feel like if I feel like a post is one that is worthwhile, I'll go on ahead and set it up as either a boosted ad, or I'll create a true Facebook ad with it. And I'll do the split ads and see which one works better, and I'll drop one that's not. And I do organic ads, and a lot of those go really well too. But obviously the paid ads are always going to get way more reach. Yeah. Knowing what demographic you're after and adjusting your paid ads based on how those demographics are being reached, you know, I mean, that's just all a learning curve. And every year I feel like it's different. But I pay Facebook a lot of money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do, but it works. I mean, it just does. It does. So for the reach you get and the dollars you spend, it works. And it may not reach exactly that 19 or 21-year-old kid all the time, but it's going to reach somebody who knows them. Yeah. And a lot of times it's the person who's deciding what kind of stuff, you know, is going to be happening. So
I've seen a lot where they'll go along and they'll share it to somebody they know that likes haunted houses. And they say, I'm not going, I won't go, but this is right up your alley. So they share it to the people they know that on their friends list that are the weirdos that go to haunted houses every year. You know, so
and I'll tell you something else. When you're going after actors, when you're trying to find actors, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and pay for sponsored ads to go for your good actors too. Because if you're paying for ads in July and August to reach actors, you're already marketing your haunt because people are going to be seeing it. But a lot of times I use that, even though I know men aren't as active on Facebook, I'll make my ad to the women and I'll say, hey, do you have a husband who's 6'2" and loves to wield a chainsaw in October? Send him my way.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised at the number of people who'll be like, my wife told me to contact you. You know?
I love it.
That's awesome.
So don't be afraid to market for your actors, you know, and don't be afraid to pay to market for your actors, because you're also paying for name recognition that's going to last you all the way through, at least in my experience, all the way through the fall too. So
Yeah. That's a great point. I never thought of it that way. Just like having your name out there for whatever reason. So that's a really good tip.
Yeah,
now,
I've definitely seen ads where they do that, where you know where they'll talk about actors. And I was like, I haven't heard about this haunt, and then I bookmark it because I'll be like,
yeah, you do.
I'm gonna remember that haunt, and I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now I know whenever you set up a Facebook ad, because I've done it before, and they ask you to, this is just a funny story. They ask you to, you know, like you said, like what age, like how many miles, what's the radius of your city do you want to try to reach, and they have you adjust all those little things. And you know this story because last year, the year before last, we put our calendar out, and it blew up. We hit, I don't even know, 500,000 shares on an organic post.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was crazy. But the funny thing about it, because you were like, yeah, good luck, because I don't know who you're going to get. It was like, I started looking at it and I was like, look at all these shares. And I'd hit the shares and it would be like somebody probably in Georgia was sharing it. I'm like, they're never going to come up here. But it was pretty cool. It's pretty wild to see. It just kind of like went haywire. And I was like, look at this. And everybody was like, and then you'd read through the comments and it would be like, shit, this is a 16-hour drive. I'm not going there. I'd be like, damn it, why not? But it was fun. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's really important to adjust those little things on there, because you don't need to market to somebody 16 hours away.
Yeah, I don't need to be paying for somebody in California to see my haunt.
No, brand recognition only goes so far, because people are not going to get on an airplane to come to your haunt. I don't care who you are.
There are some that will.
I am.
That's true.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, I'm going to New England this year to see a bunch of haunted houses in October. I'm bringing a bunch of friends with me, and but
different.
Yeah.
Most people won't do that.
Most people will not. You're right.
You're not the average person I would be marketing to in October, however.
Right. But now your haunt's on my list. Just let you know.
There we
go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other advice that we didn't cover? Like anything, any tricks or tips you want to throw out there?
I think one thing we didn't touch on was what's your background in haunting? We didn't really start off on were you a home haunter before, or was your husband a home haunter? I know you were kicking and screaming a while ago. Were you a home haunter before, and did you do stuff at your house and then become a pro, or did you just go from running an accounting business all of a sudden running a haunt?
I mean, are you allowed to open a pro haunt if you haven't had a home haunt? I thought that was like against the rules.
Yes. No.
Well, I mean, of course,
you're out.
Of course, we were home haunters.
Oh,
I mean,
good.
We met when we were in high school, and I knew from the very first year that he ran a haunt in his backyard that this was my life. I mean, I had no doubt. We went the corporate route and we got our jobs and we built our family. But I mean, he spent 15 or so years building a business plan for a haunt. So I knew he was planning on doing this, and I had every intention of help, being a part of it when the time came. In 2012, we opened it for the first time on somebody else's farm and tested the waters. It went really, really well. We lost our shirts, but we could tell that there was potential, for this to grow. But we also realized we couldn't run it on somebody else's property. So in 2013, we spent a year looking for a property to buy. In 2014, we sold our house, the house that I loved, the house that I'd raised my children in, and we bought a farm on the outskirts of Athens. And we have been operating here since 2014. So this is our 9th year, but our 8th year on this farm. And we live on the property in our home. And then the haunt is on 33 acres back behind the house. And So we've been doing it professionally for 9 years, but of course we had lots of small home haunts and backyard haunts and things like that beforehand. So, but it was more, I think the reason we made it past years 4 or 5 is because during all those years of doing the home haunting, Patrick was planning for the pro haunt. He was learning from people in the business. He was listening to podcasts. He was watching videos. He was learning how to budget. He was learning how much money we would need to spend, how much we would need to have saved before we started. So, it was in his heart and it was in his mind all the time. It wasn't something we just were like, oh, we had 150 trick-or-treaters last year. Let's go open a haunt, So that's our background.
I mean, that's what Dan Doble did. But other than that, I mean, everybody else wouldn't ever do that, but Dan would.
Yeah, 13 people my first night.
That's right. Woo! He got less that year than he did trick-or-treaters the year before.
True story. If anybody else is watching out there and you have any questions, we do have a couple minutes left. Just post them down in the comments and we can throw them up there if anybody does have any questions.
Do you ever have a chance to go see any of the other haunts in your area? Or are you pretty much you're stuck there? Yeah.
I mean, the only time we get to see anybody is if we don't usually open after the last weekend in October. So if there is haunts that open that first weekend in November, we'll make plans to go see them, but sometimes we're so worn out. Like,
you just don't wake up. You just, I'm
I
sleeping
just
all
want to
day.
sleep. So, we haven't got to see a lot in the past 10 years. We did take 2013 and do that when we were looking for a property.
Oh, nice.
So we visited quite a few haunts that year just to get some ideas. But
spying on the competition. But
that was probably the last time we got to really,
is this what you guys do for a full-time gig now?
It's really, really close to that, but it's not quite there yet. My husband's a programmer and I'm a website developer. So we get to work from home. That's probably our biggest secret, is that we don't have to, or the secret ingredient, I guess I should say, to us, is that we don't have to go to a corporate job from 8 to 5. And so being home and on the property all the time allows us to set our schedule, which allows him to work outside when he wants to come in and work when he needs to. But we don't have to, we don't have a corporate master that keeps us busy on certain times of the day.
That is definitely
that's nice.
Right there.
Yeah. You guys are living my dream. That's what I want. That's what we want. No, I'm serious. That's what we want at Crawford.
What?
Well, yeah, I kind of want to live on a farm, but I don't really want to live there. I want more property. We want to expand. But Cynthia, do you guys have any other events other than Halloween that you guys do, like Christmas or anything? Any other holidays? Or do you want to?
That's a really loaded question. Christmas,
I'm asking them all.
Christmas here in our specific area of Georgia is really too wet, especially even on our property. That almost the entire haunt gets under an inch of water in the back during December. So we would have to really rethink how we did things. We wanted to for years, and we've tried to think about it. We've tried to think of other ways to make some money during the year, and I'm not ruling it out, but I don't think we're close enough to any large metropolitan area right now to be able to do it. Maybe in a few years, if we were on the side of an interstate or if we were right outside of Atlanta, but we're on the other side of Athens, which makes Atlanta a good hour, 45 minutes from us. So it's hard for us to pull geographically to get enough people for an off-season event so far.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Susie, do you have any other questions?
I don't.
Right up on the wrapping up time. So
I do not.
Where can people find you as far as your event? Just give us a little rundown.
Yeah, it's just at zombiefarms.com. It's real easy. And of course on Facebook, we're Zombie Farms of Athens, Georgia. So we're
wow, you must have been lucky getting that address. Zombie Farm. I'm sure like 10 people were like, dang it.
we were into it before before it was cool. I think we registered the domain years before we even started the business. So
That's smart. That's smart. If you have a name you think you want for your pro hunt and you're 10 years away, get it now.
yeah. So visit us online. It's still right now got the information from last year. I'll be putting up this year's theme pretty soon. But on Facebook, we also post pretty actively. So we'd love for people to check us out on there.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. It was very
Thank
informative.
you.
Susie, thank you for all the wonderful questions because I didn't know what to ask because I'm a big dummy. But
no, you were just busy. It's fine. I got this.
But thank you guys. Thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you tune in next week where Troy goes swimming in his underwear.
Yeah.
I'm going to be absent that week. Sorry.
Oh, you're out that day? All right.
All right. Take care, guys. We'll see you next week. Same time.
Bye.
Bye.